another episode of the Dalton Grant Academy Talk Show. My name is Dalton Grant, a three-time Olympian, former board director of London 2012 Big Team. Each week, me and my guests explore the mindset, determination, and focus it takes to become an elite. Gain the insight to the world of sports, film, and more. Have I got a treat for you today? The Dalton Grant Academy Talk Show. Over here, we have Brazil. It's on the world map, obviously, 2016 host Olympics. Up here, as you can see, here is the UK. As you travel all the way over here, across me, to Australia, New South Wales, Narrabeen. With a few of my training partner, when it was cold in the UK, we had to, travel 21 hours to Australia. Liver Christie, Colin Jackson. We've even met Roger Black on the beach there many, many years ago. So my next guest, he won the 200 meters silver medal in Sydney, and he's also won a gold medal in the relay in Athens. Yes, no other than Darren Campbell. Welcome to the show.
Hi Dalton, how are you? Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, come on. How can I have a talk show without you, my training partner? So many years. But what people don't realise that obviously your name, when I knew you, when I first met you in Meadowbank in Scotland, was Darren Grant.
Yeah, no, definitely D. I was born Darren Grant, and a lot of people don't realise and know that. And I think that's why we connected initially. You were there for me, took care of me, made sure nobody took advantage of me and nobody bullied me. And I didn't change my name until I was around the age of 13. I went to an award ceremony and met my father for the first time. And on leaving the award ceremony, I decided that I wanted to change my name. So I changed my name to my mum's name, which is Campbell. So yeah, a lot of people know me as Darren Grant, but I made my name for myself as Darren Campbell and started practicing my autograph when I was 12 years old. I watched the Olympics on TV, and I was just like, one day I've got to go to those Olympics. They look just so amazing. So at the age of 12, I started practicing my autograph.
Wow, at the age of 12. So let's go back then. So who really inspired you then? Where was your inspiration coming from? Because obviously, was it at school that you realized you had a lot of speed? Was it your mom encouraging? Was it your dad? Give us insight.
Well, the person that got me involved in athletics was my mum. She watched me run at my first ever school sports day and decided then and there that I was going to be an athlete. I wanted to be a footballer, but she had seen how well I'd ran at my school sports day. So I joined my local athletics club when I was around the age of 6, 7. I joined my athletics club and just started and fell in love with the sport. And I think the inspiration to want to be a sprinter came, as I say, when I was 12 years old. I watched the 1984 Olympic Games on TV. I watched Carl Lewis win 4 Olympic gold medals. And that's really when I realised where athletics could take you. So from that moment, every time I went and competed for my club, I did the 100 metres, the 200 metres, the long jump, the triple jump, the relay. I did every event I could to try and get medals. That was always my motivation.
What was it like having your mom supporting you? Because when I was young, my parents support me, but it was a roof over my head and food in my tummy. So they couldn't really make it on a regular basis to the training. But they did, and several occasions came and watched me compete, but they were more a TV fan. So how did you find it for you? Was your parent very supportive?
Yeah, my mum was very supportive. Look, the most important thing was the roof over our head and making sure we had food. Born into a single parent family, it was difficult at times. And my mum was doing like 2-3 jobs. So the way that my mum juggled everything to make sure that I could get to athletics was amazing, unbelievable. As I got older, it became a lot more pressure. My mum coming to events because I didn't want to let her down. I knew how much sacrifice she had made to get me there and to give me the opportunity. And I think when I was younger, that pressured me a little.
That was you, that lazy person, or is it because you knew your mom, worked so hard, holding down 3 jobs for you? So how did you carry that into your training, your work ethic?
I would say when I was younger, I didn't. I've got to be honest. I was lackadaisy, and I think part of that was because I was talented. So training and racing came easy to me. As I got older, I became a lot more disciplined. But when I was younger, no, I was easy-go-lucky with it. I just enjoyed it and took it for what it was. But because I was winning races, I didn't feel.
So what did you achieve? As like when you was 12, obviously I saw you medal pack. So tell me the kind of competitions you won as a youth.
Well, I won obviously like most of the age group events. I was the top at them. I went to the English schools a year below my age group and finished 3rd in my first English schools. The following year then I went and won the English schools. All the age ranges I kind of was successful at. I think a big turning point
was really amazing, because when you look at a lot of athletes, some people break through as a junior, some people break through as a senior, like Jonathan Edwards. I remember he was a reserve in my juniors, but as he progressed, he made it into as a great senior athlete. As you know, he went on to break the world record in the triple jump. So that's the longevity, and especially the challenges, because we know the background that you came from, living in Manchester at that time. So how did you really handle that then, really?
Yeah, it was difficult, because when I was younger, because I got bullied and was racially abused when I was younger, I ended up joining a gang, and it meant that I kind of had these 2 different worlds. I had the athletics world where I was gaining success, but then I also had this gang world, and the 2 kind of collided. I think it was difficult, and I think at junior level, so I had the success as like a boy, youth age, and then as you go into junior, obviously the challenges are different because you're racing against people initially at the European Junior Championships. So at the European Junior Championships, I won the 100 meters and the 200 meters, and we won a silver in the 4x1 relay. The following year at the World Juniors, I won 2 silvers in the 100 and 200 meters, and then we won a gold in the 4x1.
How did you handle that transformation? Like people thinking that you're going to be the next Linford Christie or Alan Wells. How do you feel?
Initially, I didn't feel the pressure. I just because I was being so successful, I just felt like it was going to be easy. I think the pressure really came when Linford said that I was going to be the next Linford Christie. I think trying to live up to that expectation was difficult, and it made the initial transition from junior to senior level difficult. One of my friends was murdered during that time, so there was a lot of things going on that were weighing on my shoulders, which meant I couldn't fully concentrate on the athletics. I just think the important thing was still having the talent and trying to gain the belief that I could become the next Linford Christie. But unfortunately, I was involved in a car crash and I damaged my back, and it meant that I couldn't run the way that I used to. So I actually walked away from the sport for 2 years.
But Darren, I remember clearly. I couldn't really understand because where I pointed Australia, we was there training for warm weather, and you actually came back and did a personal best indoors, and then you walked away from the sport.
Yeah, it was difficult to walk away, but the injury was really bad. And also one of the other things, one of the physios that was helping me through the injury started talking to me about taking drugs, performance enhancing drugs. Basically just had a conversation with me where he said, look, if you want to be the best, you're going to have to do what everybody else is doing. And I was like, well, what's that? And he said, you're going to have to get on the juice. And that just, I don't know. It just...
What do you mean orange juice? What do you mean juice? Break it down, juice.
Drugs, dude.
Drugs. That's it, get it out. Straight talk here on the Dalton Academy show, drugs. It's a great show. Gang life, drugs, Wow. I commend you. And how did you handle that then? So they were
Well,
talking about.
I had to walk away, D, because my mum had always said to me when I was younger, the day that I feel the need to take drugs to be the best, stop. She said the sport's not that important. So for me, taking drugs in the sport wasn't something I was going to do. If my talent wasn't good enough, if I couldn't train hard enough, if I couldn't work hard enough, then I would have to walk away. And that's the way I'd been raised and brought up. So the lessons that my mum had shared with me were so important that there was no way I was ever going to take drugs.
So I commend you. Have you been to prison before?
No, I spent time in police cells, D.
In police cells? That's okay,
um,
boy. So, okay, everybody, because obviously why I wanted to go back, gang life, spending, not doing time, but spending a couple of hours in prison and turning down drugs. I mean, how do you feel now that you know how it could have turned out? Especially that you knowing that certain athletes in the past wasn't as strong as you to say no. So how do you feel about them athletes who took in drugs and you now looking back knowing that you said no, which was the right thing to do?
Well, D, everybody makes their own decisions and takes their own path. So, the people that decide to take drugs, that's just the path that they decide to take. So it's not really for me to have an opinion on them. I think that the bad thing is the reflection that it has on the sport and how people view and perceive the sport.
And that's why I asked you then, how do you feel? Because let's be honest, if the sport and a lot of people are, testing positive, just like we know countries and so forth and people from the past, that reflects on you. So all your achievement, what do the public think? That, maybe Darren Campbell's taking drugs.
Because of the background that I came from, where, if I wasn't given second chances with some of the things I did when I ended up in police cells, then I wouldn't be here now talking to you with Olympic and silver medals. So I do believe that people deserve a chance, but you can't then get a third chance. You understand what I'm saying? And also the punishment needs to be greater. If you're going to decide to take drugs, then the ban should be 4 years, at least minimum 4 years, because that's a long time to have to be away from the sport. And well, look, I retired for 2 years and was able to come back to the sport. And in 6 months, I was selected for the 1996 Olympics. So 2 years off isn't long enough. 4 years off, that's a whole different thing. You've got to go and reevaluate what you do with your life. You're probably going to have to go and get a job. You're not going to be able to just solely train and keep fit and be able just to come back to the sport and carry on where you left off.
So do you think it's weak? It's a weakness? Because if you're given, it's not strength to take drugs, it's a weaker character. So when you see people, making the cross and praying up to God and so forth, and then next minute you see them test positive. So, I mean, it's ridiculous, really. So do you think that they might have mental problems? I don't know. I'm just being devil advocate here, just thinking out loud, and I don't know what people are thinking, because many people might think, yeah, it's the right thing to do because everybody else is doing it, or people might say it's a weak thing to do. Because if you really believe in yourself and you believe God is supporting you on this journey and you have a gift, why would you take drugs?
That's the key, innit? Look, it's not for me to talk about people's mental health, but there's clearly a weakness somewhere that you feel the need to go and take drugs. Look, people take drugs for all different reasons. They don't believe they could be the best. It's a shortcut. Some people are just focused on the money. But as I said to you from an early age, for me, it was always about the medals. So I think because I didn't get caught up in the mindset of making money, it was something that never came to my mind. So it's difficult to know why people do it. But there has to be some kind of weakness somewhere for them to go down that path. Look, so I wouldn't want to.
Do you think that, they are getting the right support that they really need? Are they really trying to understand? Because let's be honest, why I say that, because the background you came from, drugs, in the community, because obviously in gangs as well, where people was peddling and so forth. And look, you still have that manners and respect. So I commend your mum for the great work and, the discipline that she installed in you to be a stand-up, guy and say no.
Well, also my strong faith, I do genuinely believe in God because of the things I saw when I was younger, I have a firm belief in God. And for me, if it wasn't God's will for me to become Olympic champion, then it's not God's will. That's where I would take it, you know.
When
I
you say,
believe that.
did you go to church on a regular basis, or did you pray?
Yeah, I prayed. I wouldn't say that I was forced to go to church. I went to church every so often, but I wasn't forced to go to church. But having this belief in something higher and greater, you know, it's why I still wear the cross. I still have the cross that I always had as an athlete, you know, because I have that belief that everything in life happens for a reason, and it's for us to work out why, and it's for us to find different ways to become as successful as we can.
So how did you handle then that roller coaster of Darren Campbell, people knew from Manchester, associated with gangs? Did you feel that people looked at you or judged you?
Well, you know, Dean, you was around me.
I know, but
so you know,
the viewers, you know, because, you know,
yeah,
I know.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, I was definitely judged.
I want the people to know, and I want it from the horse's mouth, from that DC's mouth, Darren Campbell.
Yeah, I was definitely judged, and a lot of it was unfairly.
That's it. And you know why I'm saying that, Darren? The main reason why I'm saying that, because anyone who's actually going on a journey like you now, there's something here that they can take and it can help them.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was definitely judged, and a lot of it unfairly, because I didn't really bring those same dramas that I was dealing with in the gangs into the sport. But I think because people had a perception of me, they treated me differently. And I think that's where you have to be strong, and have faith in what you believe. I think coming from a gang meant that I had a different kind of mentality. As you know, D, I don't fear things.
What is that mentality? Tell me that mentality.
I don't fear things. I don't have fear like a lot of people because of, again, the things that I've seen. You know, I've been in nightclubs and gunshots are going off and different things like that. You know, I was nearly stabbed, you know, so I've been through different things, which meant when I was on the athletics field, I felt safe. I didn't feel like anybody could touch me or harm me. So it didn't matter how anybody tried to talk me down or use mental games on me or anything like that.
But Darren,
I was too strong.
You're strong, but like what I said earlier, even though you were strong, you had to learn how to handle hard work, because the work ethic you were scared of. So let's be honest, just because you're a bad man out on the road, it don't mean you're going to be a bad man. You can't run those frees and, you know, you can't take the lactic acid. Hey,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
nothing
you know,
your own personal challenge.
Well, I wouldn't say I was so much scared. I just didn't believe that I needed to do it to get to where I was trying to get to. I think that was the thing. So I'd try and find whatever excuses I could to get out of the hard work. But the reality is, you know, if you're going to be successful.
What was it then, Darren? What was that turning point? Was it a race? Was it something that Linford said? What was that turning point that you said, right, I'm going to get my head down?
I think it was when I came back to the sport, after having 2 years off. During that time, I had tried to play football. I got to a semi-professional standard. I'd been working 9 to 5. I'd done 12-hour shifts at Tesco's in the warehouse. So all of a sudden, I saw hard work from a different perspective. So coming back to athletics, I realized doing the training and working hard in training was easier than doing the 12-hour shift at Tesco's in the freezing department. You know, that's hard work. Trying to feed your family, that's hard work. Doing 2-3 jobs, that's hard work. So I had a different perspective on life. So it meant when I came back as an athlete, I realized, one, the rewards that I could gain by putting in the work, and it was a lot easier than doing a 12-hour shift.
Yeah, definitely. But I love the way I've seen you now grown up into a young man, I should say, and how
Old
you
man.
are. I remember, you know, the energy that you was bringing to the table. I mean, when you look at your upbringing, it must be very intimidating to other sprinters, especially, you know, they haven't come from your background and seen or been around the things that you've been. So I commend you for a great career. I'm so far. It's not over because there's more great things, surely, which is there for you to achieve. Darren Campbell now, how have you learned from your experiences and how can you use your experiences to inspire people?
Well, I'm a lot calmer now, Dee. I think because of the things that I went through, because of the things that I achieved. Look, I fulfilled my dream. My dream was to become Olympic champion and to go from my background. And as you said, to go through the whole journey of being successful as a kid and taking that right the way through to the pinnacle of our sport, which is becoming an Olympic champion. I was able to do that. So I feel like I fulfilled my destiny. I did God's work as best I could. And hopefully I opened the door for other young people to have that belief in themselves. You know, we all need to feel inspired and we need to hear different people's stories. And I just feel it's important, which is one of the reasons why I wrote my book, Track Record. It was important for me to share that journey so people could see it wasn't always amazing. You know, I went through a lot of adversity to get the success that I got. But my belief is that anybody can gain the success. You're just going to have to go through adversity and use that adversity as fuel. And if you're able to do that, that you can go on and gain the success that you're trying to gain.
Brilliant. I mean, even I have to put my heart out because we know Christian Orogru, who's Olympic champion, her coach, passed away recently. And his funeral will be on the 8th of February. And his background, where he come from, same place where I came from, Hackney. So when you see someone who's a great athlete and gone on to be a great coach and to coach someone to a gold medal in the Olympics, something that you've achieved. So did you know Lloyd Cowan?
Yeah, I did know Lloyd. Lloyd was a really, really good guy. I was so upset to hear that he passed away so young. I know Lloyd from back in the day as a little junior athlete. I'd always have good banter with Lloyd. I think when you've come from similar backgrounds, you can relate. And I think once you can relate, you can connect. And I always connected with Lloyd, and it was amazing to see him have a successful athletics career and then go on to be a great coach. And he will be sadly missed.
Well, that's what I hope for you, definitely be sadly missed. I mean, anyone who coaches someone to win a gold medal, all my hats, even I haven't got any hat on now, but I've got to take it off and I salute them. How do you feel about being a coach and where do you see that going now?
Well, I've never coached in athletics since the day that I retired. I've really made my name in coaching in football. So I've coached at many a football club, the likes of Chelsea, Middlesbrough, just to name a few, Cardiff City. I've coached rugby teams like Wasps, like Saracens. So for me, coaching is something that I enjoy. It's something where I'm able to pass on the experiences I went through as an athlete. Trying to make people faster is a great feeling, especially when you see it work.
Because when you was competing, you were selfish. You didn't have kids and so forth. Now you've got a family. So how would they cope? And you've got a very young family.
Yeah. Well, my kids are getting older. So I always said I wouldn't coach in athletics until my kids were older. When I was an athlete, I spent so much time away from them that you try and give that time back to them. So, you know, I think I've always been able to juggle the coaching and being around my kids and trying to inspire my kids. But as they get older, they don't need that level of inspiration anymore. So, yeah, as I'm getting older, I'm looking at more opportunities with regards to coaching. So, yeah, coaching is something, like I say, it's something that I enjoy, and the power and having the opportunity to give back is something that, you know, you just can't pass. And I think that's why Lloyd was so amazing, you know, not only to do it as an athlete, but then to go and become a coach and give back. I think that's one of the most rewarding and most powerful things you can do when you've been through the journey yourself. You know, that's all new hope for anybody who's looking for inspiration. You've only got to look at the people that have been through the journey and done it. And it's important that we continue to share the experiences, because if we don't share the experiences, how do the young people learn what it takes to become an Olympic champion?
I'm saying, if you don't share the experiences, but being a top athlete, you have to look at yourself, and it's how you deal with people, because you're looking from outside in rather than looking from outside out. So these are kind of patience you should have, because natural ability, what you was blessed with natural speed. I was blessed with spring. So I wonder why people ain't springy like me. I don't understand. They say, how come I just jump, won't jump? So, and that's the kind of things, is when you kind of look back and realize your potential, and to be humble with it. So it's really understanding people and reading them and trying to use your experience to help them to achieve. Because I mean, you know what it's like going in 100,000 stadium, training 4 years for, in some cases, less than 21 seconds. 21 seconds, 4 years for less than 21 seconds to achieve your ultimate goal. Nothing but pressure. Off and on the track. Yeah. So,
people don't realize how much pressure it is. You know, like you say, you train for 4 years and the race is done in 10 seconds or 20 point something seconds. And that is a lot of pressure. Dealing with that, you got to be mentally tough. You know, I read a lot of psychology books. I didn't just rely on my experiences as a young man. I needed to understand the mind in a different way.
So have you been under pressure? What challenges have you been? Have you been under pressure? Because obviously sport is about a roller coaster of emotions.
When you're in that arena, 100,000 people in the arena, and there's so much noise, and you're trying to stay focused on why you're there and what you're trying to do, it's a skill then. It's not something, as much as I had a lot of natural ability, dealing with the pressure, that's got nothing to do with natural ability. That just ends up being about what you believe. And as I say, for me, just believing in myself, knowing what I'm capable of, knowing that I've done the work. I think that's the key.
I love the way you put that, Darren.
Knowing that you've done the work.
I love the way you put that. In other words, talent has got no sense. So you could be talented and be a fool. But you said it in a nice way.
Yeah, because that's what I was, and this is what I mean about the experiences. It's about being honest, and that's what I was. You know, I was talented, but I was a fool. So once you get past that and you realize that talent can only take you so far, then the journey becomes easier and simpler. And that's how it was for me. You know, handling the pressure.
Holistic approach.
Exactly. Yeah, and knowing that I've done the work, basically how I dealt with the pressure when I stood on that line in the final of the Olympic Games, I would put it all in God's hands. Yeah, I've done the work. I've mentally prepared. I've made it to the final. So now, if I'm meant to win a medal, I win a medal. It's that simple. And I think that's why I won so many medals.
Yeah. So was there any banter? What was it? You brought in that swagger, you know, that Mancunian swagger. What did you bring to the table? Do you bring your A game, or did you try and be stiff and be focused like a mummy and just take care of business? What, did you have any banter?
People wouldn't have banter with me. I was too serious, as an athlete, I was too serious. So people knew not to mess with me like that. There's no point, because you're not going to be able to break me by coming with anything like that.
So did anyone ever try? Did anyone ever try?
No, not really. I think maybe a couple of Americans before they knew me. But you see, my mentality was that you would needed to have walked a mile in my shoes, and the gang mentality prepared me for that. So it just meant you can't come with anything that I feel or see is false, because when you're out on the streets, one thing that you are able to do is read people very quickly. And I knew a lot of them hadn't been through things that I'd been through. So I knew they were trying it rather than something that they could back up. Yeah, I can back myself up. So there's no point in trying to
intimidate
mentally. intimidate me, mentally dismantle me. There's no point, because I'm not here for that.
So how do you feel?
Athletics wasn't a game. You know, once you get to the top level, athletics isn't a game. Yeah, because you're out there on your own. Do you understand? Yeah, as you know, you high jump, so you know.
How do you feel like the youth now? And when I was young, obviously you had a fair fight. You didn't really use weapons. People would just jump on you if you used any weapons. How do you feel with the youth nowadays, with what they're going through? And just wrap it up quick for me. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's difficult. It's difficult out there, and I think for the kids out there now, they go through different issues. I understand why some of them join gangs, because you do it for safety. You don't always do it to be a bad person or to have a bad mentality. I think sometimes you do it where you just need to feel safety. And I think sometimes out on the streets or out on road, it's just not safe for the kids. So look, my advice to them would be just find something positive that you can go to. Yeah, that would be the key. Athletics was my positive thing that I could go to, and that's what helped save my life, and that's what helped provide the things that I have today. So it's just having that positive mindset and trying to find that thing that motivates you.
Campbell, thank you so much. Take heed of what Darren said. Hang around the right people. A life for crime would only get you around bars. If you're successful in life, in whatever you want to do, bring the right people around you that you can learn from and grow from. And then you can walk freely around with your family rather than dodging and only coming out at night. And, even for your family and loved ones, think of them. If you can't think of yourself, put them first. And I'd like to say, once again, Darren, it was a pleasure. You being a teammate, me training with you and working with you after all those years and seeing you grow into a wonderful young man. And I'd like to commend you on all your achievements so far. So far, I keep saying, so far.
So far. No, thank you, Dee. It's been an absolute pleasure joining you today.